2, 1.
Boom shakalaka, mother huggers.
Welcome to the Gents. My name is Jared.
And my name is Dane.
And today we're going to be talking about a real crazy killer topic, parenting.
Yeah.
Dane, how are you, my friend?
I'm very well there, Jared. It's been a warm day here in Cape Town. Not much wind, which is great because the last couple of weeks there's been some really blustery days. And I must say, the wind is fucking irritating, when it just batters your skin all day. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the wind day. Yeah, and you, how you doing, Jared?
I'm very well, thank you. Let me get my current weather situation out of the way. I'm living in Munich, and it's cold as fuck. Not Siberian, Alberta, Canada, minus 20 cold. I've never experienced that kind of cold, but for me, it's fucking cold. It's like -4. You can feel that the snow's about to fall. You can just, it's got like this, the air is like frigid, It's cool. I dig it. I like a cold day as much as the next guy, but it's getting to the point now where it's coming to the end of, spring is on the way, and it's just like you just want to get some sunshine. You don't want to have to put on your layers before you get out the house, and you want to be able to just lie in the sun and maybe go for a dip in a river, But that's my weather situation. Fair enough. Having the wind in your face all day long isn't cool, but weather's weather,
Yeah, whatever the weather, it is weather. So with it being cold, just to get just to paint a picture of how we currently are in our present environments. It's warm here. I've got some doors and windows closed just to reduce a bit of the sound, to make this a clearer chat that we're having. I'm sitting in a pair of shorts. That is all. And I assume that you're got a jersey on. What's your situation like there?
Well, I had the oven on today to heat the lounge, and this kind of ties into our topic quite nicely. We have a fairly old. We rent a fairly old apartment. Summers are fine, but in winter we heat. We don't have any central heating. We just have a wood oven in the kitchen and a wood oven in the lounge and a small gas oven in the spare bedroom. And to heat the entire area with the lounge oven is a bit of a task. So what usually happens is that the lounge area will be warm, and the corridor will be cold, etc.
Yeah.
And because I'm heating with wood, I've got to be we're on the 4th floor, so that's also a bit of a ball ache. But I have had the pleasure, or I'm blessed with the miracle of being a dad recently, talking about parenting.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. And I thought to myself, it's going to be my baby boy's first winter, and I wanted it to be as warm as possible for him, So I bought extra wood, and I'm down to the last basket of wood.
Oh, wow.
There's no more wood, and the temperature looks like it's not going to get any warmer anytime soon. So I'm going to have to make a mission to the local Home Depot and get some wood, because you want to keep your babies warm, especially when they're so young and vulnerable. But it's surprising what's surprising for me is how robust they actually are. They're quite, their temperature is pretty well regulated, and I think for them a room, I think anything 17 degrees is fine for them to sleep in a room that's 17 degrees. Obviously they got to have their baby sack on, or some thick jammies and a blanket. But I was kind of surprised at that because I thought it would have to be warmer, and they're kind of pretty robust when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would have expected such a small being to require a lot more heat. Me being I'm not a parent yet. I have had a little bit of experience being an uncle, but that's very limited to seeing your niece when they pop around, and she lives overseas at the moment, so I don't really get to see her that much. But I must say I do love holding a little being, and just seeing them smile and giggle. So I get the good parts, but I understand obviously there's a lot of hardship when it comes to parenting, and there's a lot of reward as well. I must say I'm really looking forward to the reward, not so much the hardship, but it comes with the contract.
It does. If I may, just mention a few things to help you when the day comes when you receive a child, and then the following months, because I'm at month going into month 10 now, and I've learned a hell of a lot in 10 months. I think I'm still learning, but I'm kind of more aware also of my my weaknesses, and this little baby boy has just by being there and being its natural baby self has brought these weaknesses to my attention, and these things have to be addressed, and I'm hoping, or I'm working on them. I think it's a process that doesn't really end, but at the moment I've kind of identified where I can improve, and I'm working on improving that. But it's like you're learning all the time, man. And I think you could either ignore the messages, or you could look at these challenges or these hardships, like you mentioned, as opportunities to not only improve yourself, but also improve your family, because by improving yourself, you also improve your family and also your baby.
So what would you say is like one of the one of the biggest hardships? Like, I'd assume it's like perhaps patience, because there's certain things that I'm sure that you just need to accept, like babies scream, babies cry. So I would say being accepting of that, and like just trying to be patient in that situation is, easier said than done, obviously. But is that like a big thing that you've experienced?
You hit the nail on the head. Patience is probably for me the biggest thing that I've had to deal with. I don't think I definitely haven't been a patient person. I think I've become more patient now that I'm a father, or I've been forced to become more patient. First of all, I'd like to mention just a disclaimer. I'm not giving any advice here. This is just my opinion and my take on the situation. Hopefully I can learn from what Dane is saying, and hopefully he can learn from what I'm saying, and hopefully you guys can learn too a little bit. But at the end of the day, we don't really know what we're doing, and there are a few experts out there. Every expert has his or her fair share of critics too. So for me, it was before I answer your or go further into your question, Dane. For me, it was quite crazy, because people were like, so what do you do? How do you parent, kind of thing? And it happens naturally. It really happens naturally. Like, you don't have to do much about it. I think it's like something that's ingrained in us. That's from our our entire history, where we like naturally have these receptors and things that like kind of like signals that go off. The question is whether you ignore them or you address them. So like I was saying with patience. It's a big thing with me, and something that I need to work on, and am continuing to work on. But I always find myself in situations where I'm like, fuck, I could have, like in hindsight, I could have addressed that situation a bit better. And it's not with the baby that really is the problem. Obviously, you have moments where you are quite frustrated with the baby. But knowing that he or she is not doing this to irritate you, especially at this young age, I'm sure he will get to an age where he'll start, pushing my buttons and figuring out his boundaries by irritating or by testing the waters, which is good. That's exactly what he should do, and I should at that moment also step in and help him or guide him, show him where those boundaries are. Because if I don't think he's going to achieve his potential. He's going to have a difficult time growing up. But with what I was saying is, it's not usually the problem isn't really with the baby. Obviously, the baby is kind of the center, the nerve center, and from that, things will happen. So, for me personally, the problems exist between the two parents. So, if I'm impatient, then I would maybe be short with my loved one, my teammate on this journey, which would under the circumstances. Another thing to mention is that most of the time you are sleep deprived. So we haven't had I haven't heard of anybody that has had a kid that has like kind of slept through and had regular kind of sleeping rhythms from an early age, or not waking up all the time. I mean, I heard of one person. She was like, "Yeah, everything's cool. He sleeps from like 8 until 7, and he doesn't wake up." That happened for 5 months, and now she's experiencing the waking up all the time, because babies change. That's also another thing. You can't really say, oh yeah, my one's like this and your one will be like this, but they have their own journey that they're going on.
It seems to be something that every child goes through, or every baby goes through. Like as you say, like she experienced some easy good times, but yet she's now going through that tough phase. For sure. And be aware of that phase will come. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. I mean, be aware that things change, and the thing is, the relationships is pushed to the limit, and there are statistics out there that people, their marriage doesn't last, and with kids and whatever, and the divorce rate is pretty crazy. In most places, or after kids also, because it does it brings the weaknesses to the surface, and then either you address them and you improve on yourself and therefore improve your family, or you don't, and you stay in that mode, which takes a lot of energy, and just, it's kind of like nothing really good can come of it, but having said that, it's not easy to address the situations, Yeah, I can imagine. I imagine it's a huge strain on a relationship. I have a question. Not having gone through this myself, but being a male, I have a penis. You have a penis. You're also a male. Would you say being a father in this whole parenting relationship, being the male in that situation, would you say being a father is easier than being a mother? Like, I'm coming from this with no experience on the topic, so like I'm genuinely interested and intrigued as to
Easier easier regarding the workload or
I'd say the workload and the workload and what is expected. I mean, like a mother, if you're breastfeeding, there's an extra thing you got to do that, I mean, as a male you can't breastfeed. Like, you can try, but you probably won't succeed really. So would you, in your opinion, is it's like, if there's other factors that I'm not aware of, like, would it be easier being the male in that situation?
Well, it's a very interesting question, Dane, and I think it's awesome that you asked that question because, like, first of all, every relationship is different. You know, some people have kind of old school ways of dealing with parenting, or in my experience, especially we have quite a few friends at the moment who have also had children recently, and even within our circle of friends, it's their way of parenting is quite different to our way of parenting. But I can only speak for myself. In my specific situation, just to give you a straight out answer, I would say that it can be potentially a lot easier for the man, because you have these structures already in place, so you can step back and let this beautiful, this amazing maternal instinct that is just it's a force of nature. You know, it's just something to behold. You know, this love and the word mother. You know, it's like.
The way you're describing it, I'm imagining clouds parting, like light shining down.
Yeah, it is beautiful, and it because it happens so naturally, you can, as a man, step back. You know, but in my particular situation, I've tried to provide as much help as possible. It's I've experienced both now. So I've experienced when I'm at work and when I'm not at work. So when I'm at work, it's fairly easily. You wake up in the morning, you're sleep deprived because you've been woken up by your baby. But I've also heard of guys that don't get woken up and they just sleep through because the mom breastfeeds. Like you said, the man in this situation can't do anything. But having said that, you can, if the baby's in a bed, you can bring the baby to the mom and make sure that the dummy is nearby at hand, or if she needs certain things, that everything's kind of arranged for her, and that's kind of sorted out. So, or you could, if the baby just needs to sleep, get up at night and try and put him back to sleep. But anyway, you're going to work and you're sleep deprived, and at work, I don't know, for me, like, it was always, if I look back on it, easier to go to work than to be here and look after the kid. Yeah. Because, like I said, I've had both situations now where at work I can go have a coffee, I can talk shit, I can go for a walk, I can watch a YouTube video, I can.
So there's more you time available than in that circumstance.
Yeah, whereas if you're at home, these little babies, they demand like attention most of the time. You know, if they're sleeping, cool. But once they're not sleeping, they're either in the room with you, and if you leave the room, they will like want you to be there, but so they'll either call out for you to come back into the room, or if they can, they'll crawl after you. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's easier because men can just say, hey, like, there's that classic kind of like, the man is a walking wallet, you know, he provides.
Yeah.
And the mother takes care of the child rearing. And that's how it was back in, like, that's the old school kind of like, the dad kind of imbued kind of paternal, most of the time was disciplinary kind of things that the man would be responsible for, like the classical, just you wait until your father gets home.
Yeah.
And I think these days it's changing. People are more informed, and I think at the end of the day, if you can, if it's appropriate to your situation, and if you can be more involved, then I would definitely recommend that you do that, because at the end of the day, that bond just is a lot more stronger. Like, I think it's something that instinctively you'll know what to do. It's just, like I said, a question of doing it or not. But
so did you feel this like before you had your kid? Did you feel like you were ready? If you know what I mean, like ready to take on the responsibility of being a father, like.
Yeah, I was pretty ready.
Yeah. Okay. And I suppose you guys planned to have a child and whatnot, so there was preparation, and
it wasn't like an accident or a surprise. We had come to the decision mutually to have children, and it didn't happen straight away like a lot of people would assume. That's a whole different story. When you have certain days within the month, or this ovulation cycle, which is the best day to perform sex. So that's also a challenge, because regardless of if you're in the mood or not, you got to rock up, perform your duty.
Rock up with your cock up. Yeah. So,
but
it must.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
If no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it must be interesting when it isn't planned, when it is like, to put it bluntly, an accident. That must be a different kettle of fish to deal with. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I know people that were like 16, they had a kid,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
like, but they're now at an age where they're not even 60 and they have grandkids, so they can have fun with their grandkids, and like they're physical or strong enough to be kind of like very motivational influences in their life, as opposed to people getting kids older and older. So that's another thing. But oh man, it must be a lot if you're not expecting it. Like for me, I was trying to think about it the other day, like single mothers, like how do they do it,
Yeah, that must be quite intense.
Or single fathers. I'm sure they also exist.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that must be nuts, man. I mean, like first off, financially it must be crazy, but then like your time and your just the amount of responsibility that you have to ensure that this little life form is taken care of, and it's your responsibility. It must be insane, eh? Yeah, like myself as well. I take my hat off to single parents. That's intense.
Well, there are certain people out there that would argue that it is the most important job, because if you're not bringing your A game to your parenting game, if this has negative effects for society as a whole.
Yeah.
So like you'll get robbed by some kid who unfortunately didn't receive the care or the guidance which kids need, and he was led astray, and he ended up not only harming others but himself. So there are no. I know it sounds weird to say it. There are no rules against having children. So anybody can have a kid, which is I agree with.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like if you think about it, like if you're not ready, or if you don't have the kind of like the know-how, or if you're not aware of the amount of work that is involved, maybe like a lot of people shouldn't have kids, but I don't want to say that people shouldn't have kids, because that's your right, like it's your right to have kids, and go ahead and have them. But maybe, I don't know. I could also, like, I've benefited from a few books that I've read that have been really handy about raising. Like, there's so much to read though. Like, and that's another thing. Like, once you go on the internet, it's like game over, because it's like this person said about everything. Everything is, there's like forums about everything.
Yeah.
So I'm also a big fan of like letting things happen by itself, like be instinctive about it, and don't try and live in fear. Like, give the kid also some space to like learn from his mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I was talking about the oven. We have an oven, so the kid was fascinated with the oven, So what happened? He touched the oven.
Yeah.
He burned his little finger.
Yeah.
Got a little blister. But he hasn't touched it again.
Yeah. That's a prime example of kind of there's kids need to learn things on their own at times, and like I fear a little bit that I'll be a little bit overprotective when I eventually do have a child, because like when there's kids around, when someone has their kid around at my place or whatever, I'm like, the kid takes a step and doesn't notice the step, but like rectifies himself or whatever. I'm like there, my hand's there, ready to catch his head if he falls or whatever. And like the parents, like, just like, he must learn, I suppose it depends on the parent, depends on the situation, but like I've noticed that I've been extremely overprotective in that way. But I think that's one of those things that, as you said, things will come naturally, and I suppose only with time, when I'm put in that situation and I can see how it works, I'll probably chill out.
For sure, but I can't imagine you'd be one of these people that are like baby proofing the house, because on the other hand, you're like, obviously you got to keep an eye on them, but you'd be amazed how much you can learn from the kid there, because you'd think to yourself, oh, the baby's just going to walk and do this and do that. No, they're actually kind of like, if you observe them closely, they're a lot smarter than they look. Because they won't, if they don't know what something is, they're not going to, in my experience, they're not going to just grab it and do something with it. They're first going to look at it. They're going to try and figure out what it is, and then they're going to slowly kind of like touch it and figure out what it is before they gain control of the idea of what it is. And then they're going to become more physical with that particular object, whatever. So they can teach us a lot, and like I said before, they are quite robust. But, this whole baby industry, I mean, come on, like, billions of dollars, there's so many people out there trying to make parents scared because this and that, and it's like, let the kid make its own mistakes. Fair enough, there are certain things that you have to be aware of, but come on, like, have a little bit of common sense, like, if the kid isn't allowed to figure out things by itself, I don't think it's gonna, I don't know if that kid is going to, if it's going to have the best tools to deal with society in the future, because
sure.
I think if you could, because we can't protect them. That's the thing. People want to protect their babies. They want to protect their kids, but life doesn't work like that. So it's like yin and yang, right? You have the white serpent with the black dot, and then you have the black serpent with the white dot. That's, according to the Taoists, chaos and order. So that is life. That's how we have order. And then at any moment, that's the black dot and the white snake, chaos can happen. And chaos is an accident, a this, a that, but we can't avoid that, but what we can do is we can provide the children with enough strength, to make them strong, to make them ready for that potential moment of chaos. And that's not saying that chaos is bad, because you can actually learn from chaos.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
if you have your if you have your home, if you have your, you're in order most of the time, but if you want to push yourself by learning something new, or putting yourself in a new kind of like chaotic situation where you all of a sudden at a Mai Tai fucking I don't know, sparring, somebody's kicking the shit out of you, that's also chaos, but your body is like designed to grow at amazing speeds through that chaos. So it has its plus and minuses, but what I'm talking about is basically that you can't protect your kids 100%, but you can hopefully provide them with some of the tools that can help them along the way. Exactly. Equip them.
You were talking about the robustness of children, of kids. I just have a little story here, or I don't know, not anecdote. Anyway, my girlfriend's nephew, he's this little tank, man. He's such like a strong, like thick kid, like he's strong, man. He's crazy. Little toddler. But the one time we were looking after him here at our place, and we've got like it's not the most kid friendly, like a glass coffee table. And I don't know how it happened, but it reached a point, things just happened where he had the corner of a like pretty heavy cushion in his mouth, and he was spinning around, having the best time. And I was like, hey buddy, like careful, and he was doing this, and then eventually he got so dizzy from this, he lost his balance and clapped his head on the edge of the table, and I don't know, the ground as well or something. And I was like, oh, this is ER situation, damn, it's like, how did this happen? And he ends up, he's sitting on the floor, and he puts his hand on his head, and he's like, oh, and then he's like, ha ha ha, like laughs it off. And I felt his head, and he had like this huge like egg, this huge bump had like happened, and he was like, water off a duck's back. He was perfectly fine, carried on having the best time. And that's just an example of, I mean, he is a tank, but it's an example of like just how much tougher they can be compared to like how you expect this fragile little being, like,
for sure. And it's just amazing how beautiful it is. It's like, look at this little being, and how the whatever, call him God or the design or the universe, design this kid to be able to take those kind of knocks. Because like in my own experience, when they learn to like walk or not, well, my kid hasn't walked yet, but when they learn to crawl or to stand up, pull themselves onto things, they often kind of fall down, and they're like, it would be like me just falling backwards onto my head. Like I would probably end up in the ER.
Yeah. You got a longer way to fall
with some kind of, I'd have some kind of concussion issue or whatever. But they just like kind of like fall in a way where their head makes contact with the floor, but in a way that kind of like, I don't know, it's like it has the least amount of damage possible. And then all of a sudden they're like get up, dust themselves off basically, and they're on their way again to causing more chaos.
Totally.
So it's interesting to figure out that they are more robust than you think they are. But I'm also it's like it never ends. Like one of the best pieces of advice I got from a friend who has 2 kids was, he said that everything is a phase.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and it's like, so he doesn't want to eat. Cool. Okay. He doesn't want to sleep. Cool. He's cranky. Cool. He's got snot in his nose. He's coughing. Blah blah blah. Whatever. He's wants to be held all the time. And it's very natural to ask the question, why is this happening? Or to find a logical answer to these questions. And most of the time, there aren't any logical questions. There's a whole kind of smorgasbord of possible answers to the question, and to identify which one is difficult. But if you just kind of like sit back and go, hey, well, this is something that he's gonna it's gonna end. He's gonna get he's probably gonna get stronger from this.
Yeah.
Or he's going to he's going through a stage where he's figuring things out, and he's going to get like a growth spurt and move into like another territory where he's more aware of his surroundings. If you kind of like have that kind of like in the back of your mind, it makes it easier, because you don't kind of get hung up on the specifics of the actual situation.
Yeah.
But, man, it's like, yeah, the same friend also said to me that he's with 2 kids, he's pretty much numb all the time, like numb.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot, Parenting is a big ask, and it gives me a new respect for my parents, because I didn't realize what goes on behind the scenes. You don't, you hopefully you grow up and you're healthy, and you've had some good guidance, and you leave the nest, and that's that. But for me, I only realized how difficult the job is, or how much effort it goes into raising a child once I had one myself. So congrats, or take my hat off to all the parents out there. You're doing a great job. Keep on doing it. Best job, the most important job, I'd say. And keep it up.
What kind of blows me away a little bit is and something I'm also looking forward to is like you'll have this kid, this like really young baby that you can't really communicate with yet, and so you have a certain character that you'll kind of put onto this being, like a way that you think they are, and then when they start being able to communicate, I imagine like it'll be like a real kind of revelation as to like, wow, this is like the thoughts that are going through this being's head. Like has your kid started like communicating yet, or is that still to come?
Oh yeah, he's trying to he's getting his vocal cords, he's like flexing his vocal cords, so he comes up with all kinds of weird sounds and sequences of different sounds with different pitches and different kind of like it repeats certain things also quite often, but actual words no, but I haven't heard anything like he'll do a lot of like blah blah blah, which maybe is like papa or mama, I'm not sure, but it's crazy to think that one day this kid's probably going to be sitting in a bar having some kind of like philosophical discussion with another dude totally. About like the universe.
With you.
With me, hopefully.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, it's hectic stuff.
But they definitely have their own personalities, and as a parent you've got a lot to get through, because it's only at the beginning. When does it end? It doesn't really. So from day 0 until hopefully you the one that dies first, or passes on, to put it a little bit less dramatically, because that would be the natural order of things. But as we live in a world with chaos and order, it could be the opposite. So it doesn't end, So one day they're going to leave the house, and hopefully they leave the house with the tools available to take on this crazy planet that we live in, and prosper and make their way in it. And that's all one can hope for. I mean, like, I kind of struggled with the sleep deprivation thing. That was my thing that I still kind of struggle with, because it makes me a different it makes me an arsehole. Like, I think I have everybody's got the potential to be an arsehole in them, but I suppose my potential arsehole bubbles up to the surface a lot quicker than others, especially if I'm sleep deprived. So I'm just not cool to be around. But what I realized, I need to accept that fact and develop a plan to find a solution. So simple enough.
Yeah.
Get yourself a full night's sleep. So I got myself a full night's sleep. It was like last week, and I woke up like a new man. I felt like $1 million. I was like ready to take on the world. But I think it builds up, because you think to yourself, okay, cool, I didn't sleep well last night. Today I'm tired. But that over weeks builds you into like turns you into some kind of fucking zombie.
Yeah.
And then I just needed that one full night's sleep, and I felt like $1 million. So that now I know that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be issues down the line, or I hope it gets to a point where I'll be down the line and I'll be dealing with, because at the end of the day, you also got to appreciate every second, man, because I know I've harped on about it today with the chaos and the order, but you know, people take things for granted, and you really you have to listen and appreciate what is going on. It's a cliche in the moment, I know, but it's a cliche for a reason, because who knows what tomorrow might bring. And if I'm blessed enough to have a child in puberty, those problems will also probably fuck my world up, you know, because
yeah, totally, that's a minefield there.
Yeah, because especially today, you know, it's like, oh fuck, like even my kid, who's not even a year old, he intuitively is attracted to the cellular devices that we as adults have on us most of the time, which is also probably not cool. Maybe we should just, as we come into the house, put in like with the keys or whatever, and just leave it there. But you know how things are. You're connected as we mostly are these days, all the time, and it's crazy how intuitive they are, because they don't even think twice. They know that this thing is. They know there's something about this thing because they see their parents on it a lot. So they know that this thing has potential for craziness. So they're like naturally attracted to it. But taking that a step further and talking about like, oh man, like online bullying and stuff like that, which when we were coming up in the world, you know, in high school, we didn't we had cell phones, but like late in the day, you know, and then with I didn't have internet access cell phone until like after high school, you know, it was all like SMS and stuff like that. So these days, kids, they're on the smartphones, you know, and they also have they're tricky motherfuckers, because they have like programs. They'll have like apps that looks like a calculator, but actually in this calculator there's fucking gigs of porn.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a scary thought. You can't really
murky
protect
waters, man.
Yeah, you can't always be there. Like all this shit is so accessible these days, man. It's like you gotta decide where your line is as a parent, almost. I think when you reach that point, like, where is your line? Does your kid have a smartphone? At what age? Like, basically, you're deciding when am I gonna expose my child to pornography. That's kind of like a given, you know. As soon as he has internet access, as soon as he can visit a browser, I'm not saying it would be by choice, but that shit is like blasted in our faces all the time. So like, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it's a reality, man. It's like,
big time.
It's there, and it's a big scary force that's going to awaken something in everyone's child, you know, especially for male children. It's an intense thing. And
it comes back to equipping them with the tools to deal with that. I mean, trying to prevent it is difficult. I mean, good on the one hand, you could say, hey, my kid's not going to get a smartphone until he's like can afford it himself, kind of thing. But I know of a parent who, as soon as the kids came home, they had to give her their phones, and then she'd go through the WhatsApp. Like, she'd go through each phone and figure out what's going on the WhatsApp, where she discovered, like, the one kid was, like, talking about committing suicide, and she, like, passed it on to, like, the school, whatever, by going through the WhatsApp things. But, it's crazy, man. And also, like, with the technology and everything, but also with the food, you know, like, the food is another thing, because it blew my mind. Dane, seriously, it blew my mind. I couldn't get over it. So I'm aware of the fact that in our current society, or our, you know, contemporary times, that we're exposed to too much sucrose, fructose, glucose, whatever, sugar in general. Yeah. And I'd like my child to, from the beginning, to not be exposed to too much of that, you know, because he's going to have enough time for that anyway. Yeah. So, and for me personally, it's important, because I have a kind of my relationship with food isn't the best, you know. Kind of like I have, I have like kind of fuck outs when it comes to sugary foods, and I hope for him that he wouldn't have that. So I try my best to avoid certain foods, but you'll be amazed, man. We went to some party, or it wasn't a party, it was like a birthday party, you know, and the kid was with us, whatever, and like there was some like some snacks on the table, some salt sticks, you know, what are those things called, like
bread sticks or something?
Bread sticks, and the one lady, she like, because obviously the kids want everything they can get their hands on, and the one lady, like, she asked me, she said, like, can I give him a breadstick? And I said no. And then she gave him the breadstick anyway. Yeah. And in this moment, I should have taken the breadstick away from him, but I was kind of shocked, and I let him eat a little bit of it. Yeah. And then he wanted more. Yeah. So this became in this little example, it became like a habitual kind of like thing, where because of the things involved in the breadstick and the taste that he was, obviously he wanted more of it, because it's designed for humans, or for grown adults to want more of it by what is within it. So, and even with relatives. But anyway, to get back to why my mind was blown, so we went to some relatives, and it was like an elderly couple or whatever, and she gave Samuel she gave us some presents, and one of the presents was like a glass with strawberry cake in it. So on the glass, because we're in Germany, it said like Erdbeerkuchen. Yeah. So this is like, you know, you get your porridge that you give kids out of the glass. Yeah. And this was a little glass filled with porridged strawberry cake and it said on the glass, this is like a dessert for your child. Yeah. First of all, why does my child, who's not even a year old, need a dessert? Yeah. Who said that that's what kids need? Yeah. Who said that's what adults need also? Maybe that's one of why there's such crazy health problems going on. Yeah. And hey, where do you get off? Where do you get off as a apparently a moral baby nutrient providing company with your fucking brand friendly typography, which makes me think of natural products and it's healthy and whatever, and the way it's the packaging, you know. Yeah. Where do you get off putting a fucking strawberry cake in a glass for babies?
Yeah, that is quite intense. Yeah.
And I mentioned this, and I mean, my wife thinks I'm overreacting because a lot of people buy these things. You just need to go to the baby shelf and you'll see all this shit. But somehow it just doesn't fit well with me, you know. It just I think it's kind of immoral. But maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Maybe I just need to think about why I think so strongly about it. Perhaps it's got to do with my, like I said, relationship with
Well,
food.
I think
and not
being a parent, like being a responsible kind of carer, and it's your responsibility to mold this person and to make sure that like they're like you want the best for your child, and you don't want to create these habits or addictions, because sugar is like super addictive. So I can really understand where you're coming from, where you're saying that you'd prefer not to give sugary treats to your child who is under a year old. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but like it is like definitely a subjective thing. It's like up to the parent what they want to do. Like we can advise and give our opinions and stuff like that. It's the same with people feeding their kids McDonald's. It's like, obviously it's a bad idea. You don't want to create that kind of dependency, but people do it anyway. And like, who knows, maybe someone wants a fat kid or whatever the reason is, but yeah, these things exist. And I guess it's up to you to make the decision of whether or not your kid has access to that.
Yeah, I agree. And at the same time, I don't know, man. I think what's best for the kid at the end of the day is important. Like, are you really setting your kid up to progress or to have the best chances with that kind of diet? I'm not sure, because it has an effect on not only the weight but the whole package. So yeah, murky waters. I mean, everybody's got to decide for themselves. But I think once you do figure out what your kind of thing is, then you should stick to it vehemently, because you'll always run into occasions where there will be other parenting styles around, and parents don't necessarily want to listen to other ways of doing things unless they're looking for help, so it's like talking to a brick wall. But if you could just maybe just defend if your style has been kind of like criticized, just defend it and give your reasons for sticking to it. That might be a good way to get through a altercation like that. But man, it's like such a big thing. Like, I think we need another many podcasts on parenting, because it's for me it's constantly kind of evolving and progressing. But one thing that I can say without a doubt is that children need to be shaped and informed, and if not, they won't thrive.
Yeah. And if someone else's parenting style creates like a less strong human, less competitive, whatever, then all the better for our kids, eh? They'll come out tops.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. It's
just a bit of a silver lining.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, feed your kids McDonald's at any opportunity, and strawberry cake,
please do.
porridge.
Sugar, pour the sugar into their mouths. Yeah, man. So yeah, this has been very enlightening for me, I must say. Hearing your experiences and perspectives and insight. Thanks for sharing it, Jared.
Yeah, my pleasure. I hope it's helped, or I hope there are certain things that we've said that could help some parents out there, or potential parents. It's crazy times. So one has to. I think it's important to have like a ethos, I would say, in these crazy times. But it doesn't mean that you don't have to be flexible, open to other things. Like, I think, one of the things that we kind of pride ourselves on is the fact that we could talk about anything really, or be open towards all kinds of ideas, just because we know that we don't know everything, and we're trying to figure it out, and by doing this we're learning a lot. So at the end of the day, hopefully we can become better human beings.
Are you talking about podcasting and chatting about things in general?
Yeah, that too. I mean, podcasting is I think a excellent way of learning about new things. Hearing
other opinions and whatnot.
Talking about podcasting, the next episode we want to do on pornography. Is that right? Or
yeah, totally.
Or a future podcast we'd like to touch on that subject.
Yeah, it's a heavy subject.
We've touched on it a little bit today. Also, I mean, it's kind of infiltrated our parenting conversation, because it is kind of omnipresent these days. But we'll get into that next week, and we'll try and figure out exactly how that is. Well, personally, I'd like to provide people with my relationship with porn, and not that I'm addicted. I don't think I am, but I have frequented pornography sites, and but you would never know because it was all in the incognito tab. So, but now they do know. So,
yeah, damn it. Yeah, pornography is that's a wild beast. It's a monster.
It is, and I've got a lot to say about it, and I'm sure you also have a lot to say about it. And I think maybe we could take it as deep as possible, and
jeez,
and try and figure out exactly what's going on in that space, because it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's just growing, and the competition's becoming stiffer and stiffer, and that's enough.
People are just massaging it. Gross.
No,
it's
but
it's this throbbing pipe of an industry. It just like pours out on everyone's faces.
Filth. Jizz.
Big filthy loads.
Hold on. Wait, hold on. Let's. Obviously, we've said too much already, but we try and take our topics with a dose of lightheartedness. Life's too short and too serious and too crazy anyway, not to try and be a little bit lighthearted. And but having said that, we don't want it to be gimmicky and just for laughs. So we'll be approaching the subject in a kind of a point of view that can help people or kind of get to, because I know it's a problem, especially with regards to the opposite sex, and men's consumption of porn. Is it different? I don't know. We'll figure that out compared to women's, and hopefully we'll get some quotes from some beautiful females, real life non-porn.
Yeah, we'll try and approach it objectively, and also bring some of our own experiences and opinions about it.
And afterwards we will have we'll celebrate the podcast with poached eggs.
Yeah, poached eggs with reused water.
Yes. So in closing, hope you guys have enjoyed what we've had to say today. And if you have enjoyed it, please leave a comment. If you haven't enjoyed it, also leave a comment and share it with a friend, or your mom or your dad or your sibling, and help us get our brand of discussion out there. Hopefully people can take something out of it. Dane, what would you say about that?
For sure. Yeah, I agree. I'd like I'd like these discussions to continue, and if people dig it, then share it. Yeah, if you like it, share it with someone that you think might like it too. Share it with someone that you think might not like it. Just share it. Why not?
Share it specifically with people that you think might not like it. And I say that because maybe they'll like it at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally. You never know. Maybe someone who doesn't like something usually, maybe this time they'll like it.
If they give it the amount of time to listen to it, because it's not for everyone to listen to the long format conversations or discussions, but I'm sure there are people out there during their commute. Maybe they could listen to this and give us some feedback, please. We need it. Come on.
Yeah. So on that note, thanks, Jared. This has been great. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you, Dane. I've enjoyed it as always, and it's been a real pleasure to have this conversation with you across the airwaves, so to speak, from Germany, Munich to Cape Town. And praise Allah, God, and the universe for the ability to do this. And I'm hoping next week we can do the same on pornography.
Thanks, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye.